Ladies and gentlemen, welcome here to Main Event DFS. My name is Adam Kohn. I am your host. This is my NFL DFS Week 1 preview. I will eventually have a podcast name for this. But right now, I'm just calling it my NFL DFS Week 1 preview. Again, my name is Adam Kohn. I am your host. I am going to be going over here on this podcast over the 13-game slate here on DraftKings. I am primarily a DraftKings player, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of background on myself. For those of you that don't know me or are not familiar with some of my work over the last several years. So again, my name is Adam Kohn. I'm an NFL DFS analyst / content provider here at Main Event DFS. And I have been participating in fantasy football season-long leagues for like 10 plus years. I've been doing NFL daily fantasy for probably about easily 5 plus, probably almost 10 years now. More actively the last 2 to 4 years, trying to get better, trying to learn more, trying to do different things, trying to become a better player. Probably like the last 2 to 5 years. So a little bit about me and my daily fantasy football analyst background. If you guys are familiar with Roto Grinders at all, there was a gentleman by the name who worked there called CJ Kaltenbach, aka The Siege. He worked for Roto Grinders for years. Him and Stevie T PFL were on the Morning Grind podcast. They're awesome people. I know it. I've met Stevie in person, but I know Stevie. I've played Counter-Strike with Stevie. I've been part of Stevie's NASCAR package. I think this is my 4th or 5th year in his NASCAR DFS package. He's an awesome dude. And CJ, also an awesome dude. I've met him in person. And why do I bring up CJ's name? Because when CJ left Roto Grinders, he ended up taking over a company called Arbor Pro as CEO. So at Arbor Pro, when he was looking to start up the NFL DFS product, he was looking for NFL DFS analysts, people that wanted to be part of his team. And after a couple of things, and after I talked to him a little bit even prior before he left the Roto Grinders, because I was looking for a way to break into the industry, CJ gave me a shot, which I am forever grateful for. And like I said, CJ is an awesome dude. If you're interested in CJ's current content, you can find him over at Elite Fantasy. We had some awesome people that worked at Arbor Pro in our NFL DFS package. Jeremy Goki, Kyle Murray, that name I'm sure sounds familiar. Michael Cavalunas, if you're a big part of golf and you've heard me talk about the Cutline podcast on our CSGO Clutch podcast. A lot of amazing and awesome names. Peter Goffin, just to name a few. There's so many others that I want to name, and I'll make sure I have to write a couple down and see if I can get everyone else's name, because there were just so many talented people that work for Arbor Pro. So Kyle Murray, I'm sure you heard of him. He's now working over at FTN Fantasy as like the lead and head DFS analyst. Awesome dude. Kyle really knows his stuff. And I'm so happy for him to see how he grew and the jobs that have come his way. He worked at Roto Grinders for a little bit, then went over to FTN Fantasy when FTN opened up a couple of years ago. So that's a little bit about me. So like I said, I've been doing NFL daily fantasy content in terms of providing it for the last couple of years. I took a year off last year, but I'm back. I'm with Main Event DFS this year. You will hear me every single week. I will be running this podcast. This is something that I am doing. Something that I enjoy doing. I enjoy talking about the games. I enjoy writing about them too, but I love talking about it. Talking with guests and co-hosts and guest hosts and, whoever else we get on the podcast. So that's a little bit about me. If you have any other questions, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at AdamWX21. You can find me over on the Main Event DFS Discord. Link is going to be below here in the comments. How to get access, free community. All this content is free for you guys. You guys and gals out there, all this content is free for you guys and gals. Again, Main Event DFS Discord link is going to be below, because you're going to be watching this on our Main Event DFS YouTube channel, so you already know where to go there. Drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. That way you all know every single time we post any content here on the Main Event DFS. Anytime one of these podcasts drop, I may have my 4th and Goal live show that I started over at Arbor Pro. That may be coming back this year. I'm still trying to work some things out on that end to see if we're going to do it. If we do, it's going to be on Sundays, 1 hour prior to lock for a half hour. So usually, if it's a 1 p.m. start time on a Sunday, the 4th and Go live show will be from 12 to 12:30. But I don't know if that's coming back this year or not. I'm still talking. I'm still trying to think about it and things like that. So we'll see. So again, leave a comment on this video. Tell me who you guys like on this slate. Who are your targets? Who are you fading? Who do you want no part of? Who are you just going overweight on this slate? Let me know down in the comments. Would love to be able to chit chat with all of you guys. And you can find me over on the Main Event DFS Discord. Be more than happy to answer any questions you have over there. So, now that I got the intros out of the way with, this particular podcast for week 1 is going to be a little different. I'm going to go game by game. This isn't going to be, I'm trying not to have this be an hour-long podcast. I'm going to try keeping this to about a half hour to 45 minutes. There are not going to be a ton of stats this week. You're going to get a lot more of opinions. Look, we have had week 1 content and week 1 salaries now for almost a month. There is content aplenty throughout the industry. If you're looking for something a little bit more in-depth and stat-wise this week, we're all in the same boat. We're going off of 2020 stats. We have no data this year. The only data we have are the 2 players of the 2 teams that played on Thursday Night Football, the Cowboys and the Bucks, and we have absolutely none of them on the slate. So we have no 2021 data to go off of. From me, you're going to get a couple things from me a week here at Main Event DFS. You're going to get this podcast. It is going to be a video podcast that way you can see me talking about these plays. You're going to get my Stardom or Fadem article. That's going to be coming out on Saturday nights. That will hopefully have the most up-to-date information possible. That is my goal. Now, my Stardom or Fadem article for week 1 should be out by tomorrow night. There is a chance I do not have an article out this week. I have just had... I'll cop to it. I've had a lot going on this week. I haven't had a chance to really do as much in-depth stat research as I would like to. You will get more stats and stuff from me throughout the rest of the season. Just know this is going to be more of a preview podcast. It's going to be who I like, who I don't like. We're going to go over injuries. We're going to go over stuff like that. So enough of me babbling. Let's actually get into this. And I am going to go game by game for this specific podcast. I'm going to try out a couple of different formats with these podcasts. See what I like, see what I don't like. See what you viewers out there and you listeners out there. Tell us, tell me in the comments below. Do you like this format? Do you not like this format? Is there a particular format you want to see? Do you want to see me focus on games that have higher totals? Do you want me to focus on more of a GPP strategy? Me focus more on a cash strategy? I am a GPP player. I am a large field GPP player. I love playing GPPs. That is where my mindset is at. And for this particular podcast, it's going to be DraftKings focused. If you have questions about FanDuel this week, again, hit me up on Twitter at AdamWX21, or you can find me on the Main Event DFS Discord at AdamWX21 as well. Be more than happy to answer any questions y'all have. Let's get into the slate. We start off with Philadelphia at Atlanta. And we're going to go over here. I am going to go over the NFL DFS odds. I'm actually going to pull these onto my other screen. This way here. I can chat with you fine folks. And you won't have to see that. Yeah, I was looking at some other podcast names. So we'll get that off there. Pick 6 podcast, what I was thought of. And I forgot that's the CBS podcast. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, Philadelphia at Atlanta. This game comes in at a total of... 48.5 over-under. Atlanta currently favored by 3. This game opened at 47.5 with Atlanta favored by 4. I'm actually rather surprised that Atlanta's favored here. I think this is going to be a massively high-scoring game. If you're betting on this game, I think this game is going to smash the over. I think 48.5 is too low. These are 2 bad defenses with 2 pretty decent offenses. And I think that's why it's probably at 48.5, to be perfectly honest with all of you. Now, with that being said, we're going to go here and we're going to look at quarterbacks in this game. We got Jalen Hurts and Matt Ryan. Jalen Hurts comes in at $6,400. Matt Ryan at $6,000. I like these quarterbacks for this slate. Both are firmly in play for this slate. And we go to the running backs here. We got Miles Sanders for Philly, Mike Davis for Atlanta. Now, on the running back situation for Philadelphia, Miles Sanders should be the first and second down guy, quite frankly, and I'm going to have him hard. He should be an every down back. But we've got Boston Scott and rookie Kenneth Gainwell, who I expect as the 2 backups / pass catchers that are going to be on this team. We're going to have to see how the Eagles use Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell. I would expect it to be Sanders 1, Boston Scott 2, and Kenneth Gainwell 3. He's the rookie that Philadelphia drafted this year. Now, on the Atlanta side of things, it's Mike Davis. That's it. Wayne Gallman is in as his backup. And if anything else, then it's probably Quadre Olison, honestly. I don't think it's all that terrible. I don't think Quadre Olison's all that terrible. But with that being said, I love Mike Davis this week. He's $5,400. Miles Sanders is someone that I also really like because we know Miles Sanders can also catch the ball. So if you're playing a Philadelphia stack, I don't mind stacking a running back with Hurts and a wide receiver or a tight end. I think that's a way to get different. And it's week 1. I was actually doing a little bit of research, and I believe, shout out to 1 Week Season. I believe I was reading an article from them last year that said, this is a week that's going to be won by something that's probably over 200 points. If you want to spend the same amount of time and do research, it's been weeks and weeks of research, let alone months and months of research. You're going to have to stick to a ceiling. You're going to have to hit that ceiling to probably win any of these Millie Makers or any other GPPs this week. With that being said, I am targeting high ceiling this week. I'm not looking like who's safe. I want that $1 million in that Tournament of Champions entry. I think Miles Sanders can get you there because Atlanta's defense is terrible. Now, traditionally, in the past few years, we have targeted pass-catching running backs against the Falcons. They have been absolutely terrible in the bottom 5 of the league defense-wise, I believe, is the Atlanta Falcons versus pass-catching running backs. I think we're going to see Sanders catch a couple balls out of the backfield. I think he could break away for some massive gains. I really like Miles Sanders this week. So, for me, if I'm targeting one side of this game, I love the Eagles side of this game. Atlanta, I have no problem doing some run backs with like a Mike Davis or a Calvin Ridley or a Kyle Pitts. But if I'm targeting one side of this game, for me, it's the Philadelphia side. Now let's get to the wide receivers real quickly here in this game. Again, I'm not trying to take super long. But we got Calvin Ridley. Let's go with Philadelphia first. Devonta Smith comes in at $4,500. Too cheap. He's too cheap. Travis Fulgham is no longer on the Eagles. I believe he was cut. If I am not mistaken, we'll go here, Travis Fulgham. Oh, my apologies. He was signed to their practice squad. So Fulgham passed through waivers unclaimed. So Philadelphia is going to retain him on a member of their practice squad. So Fulgham's still with the Eagles on their practice squad. I do not expect them to play. I expect Devonta Smith to be force-fed in this game. I expect Devonta Smith to have anywhere between 8 and 10 targets, maybe even 8 and 12 targets. I expect him to catch somewhere between 5 and 7 balls on average. If he goes for a ceiling, I expect him to have probably somewhere more in the range of like 5 to 8, 5 to 9 catches. I can easily see him going for 80 to 100 plus yards and maybe a touchdown or two. I think Devonta Smith is going to destroy this terrible Atlanta defense. I don't mind Jalen Reagor as well at $3,700. I'm not targeting anyone else because, quite frankly, it's Devonta Smith and Jalen Reagor and probably the 2 tight ends. Now, on the Atlanta side of things, love Calvin Ridley at $7,900 and Russell Gage at $5,300. They are the 2 players that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. If they're going to go 3 wide receiver sets, probably going to be some combination of Cordero Patterson and Olimius Zacchaeus. I apologize if I butchered his name. But I would say Patterson and Zacchaeus probably somewhere 3rd on the depth chart. Patterson, we know, has become, in recent years, more of like a gadget-type player / running back. So if you're stacking Philly, I love Calvin Ridley as a run back. I love Kyle Pitts as a run back. We're going to get into that. Now, I may have more details in terms of stats in my article, because this is probably going to be a game I'm talking about. And quite frankly, it's a game I'm going to target. Like I said, total right now is set at 48.5 over-under. I'm taking the over. It's too low. I think this game could become a shootout. Now, on the tight end side of things, this is where things get a little bit more trickier. Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz, both going to see targets. Both are going to be involved in this game. Pick your tight ends you like. For me, I'm probably going Zach Ertz on less ownership, hopefully, over Dallas Goedert, and he's $1,000 cheaper. Now, do we really need salary on this slate? No, we have Devonta Smith, $4,500. Like, there's so many players that are cheap this week that I like. With that being said, let's get on to Recapping this game, I like Philly over Atlanta. I like the over for Philly. I like the over for this game. Yeah, and with that being said, I like Kyle Pitts as well. So if you're stacking Atlanta, I think you go and you have 4 players you target. It's Matt Ryan, it's Mike Davis, it's Calvin Ridley, and Kyle Pitts. Those are your 4. Mix in some Russell Gage, and if you're max entering one of these, anything over a 20 max, I would get exposure to Patterson and Zacchaeus as well. And then pick the tight end you like from Philly, Dallas Goedert or Zach Ertz. I prefer Ertz to Goedert this week. And we'll see what happens. I think Hurts in the preseason was targeting Ertz maybe a bit more. So I'll take the upside of what we know Zach Ertz can be. We know he can be a top 3 tight end in the league. So with that being said, let's move on from this game. I'll get into defense at the end of the podcast, and we'll just go through all the game's defenses. With this being said, I'm going to totally, cup this off the fly. I'm actually going to go, instead of going game by game here, I'm going to pick some of the games that I like, and I'm going to talk about them. And I'm going to tell you some of the games I just don't want any part of. So let's get into another game I like here. I like Jacksonville and Houston. Second game here on the slate. Deshaun Watson already been ruled out. Kind of, sort of, no surprise here, ladies and gentlemen. We know he's not going to play. We know he's sitting out the season. We know he wants to be traded. On to the actual fantasy pieces. Trevor Lawrence, the rookie quarterback, number 1 pick overall out of Clemson, for Jacksonville, $6,200. Tyrod Taylor, $5,300. Love that price tag for Tyrod Taylor here. I think both quarterbacks are firmly in play. Of the 2, I like Houston. I like Tyrod Taylor, $5,300. I really do. But I can easily see Trevor Lawrence having a good game here as well. But I like Tyrod Taylor. We know Tyrod can run the ball as well. Let's talk about the running backs, which is what I want to focus on for this game. James Robinson is as close to a core play for me as you're going to get on this slate. I'm going to go into core value and some GPP plays, kind of like I do on my CSGO Clutch podcast. Again, something else about me, I love Counter-Strike. Shout out to my boy Stevie T PFL, who helped get me involved in Counter-Strike last year. He did Counter-Strike DFS content. That's a story for another podcast. But as I do on my CSGO Clutch podcast, I do a core value, GPP, and favorite team stack segment. I'm going to do something similar here for this podcast. Excuse me, James Robinson is someone I want to be overweight on the slate. Why? Houston's defense is terrible. Houston's defense might be the worst in the league this year. Just saying. So keep that in mind. Now, the over-under for this game is low. Again, I expect nothing less. So rookie quarterback for Jacksonville. Tyrod Taylor's been a starter in his past, but it's not exactly like Houston has the world's greatest offense either. 45.5 over-under for this game. Jacksonville favored by 3. Now, James Robinson should absolutely feast on Houston's terrible defense. I love James Robinson this week. Now, for the Houston running backs, I do not know who's going to be the starter. I assume it's David Johnson. We could see Phillip Lindsay blow up. Quite frankly, if Mark Ingram's still on this team, we could see him blow up. I have absolutely no idea how to get a feel of this backfield. I'm just playing James Robinson for Jacksonville. For Houston, take chances on David Johnson or Phillip Lindsay, not so much Mark Ingram. James Robinson, 6,400, someone I absolutely love on this slate. Not so much the Houston running backs, but again, I take chances on David Johnson. I actually think Phillip Lindsay might be the large field GPP play you want to focus on this slate. Wide receivers are something we got to talk about here. Because on the wide receivers for Jacksonville, DJ Shark should be the default one for this team. It's been no surprise to anybody that Urban Meyer does not, for whatever reason, I'll put it lightly, or easy, probably doesn't think as high of Shark as some other people do. I think Shark's a good player. I think Laviska Shenault's the wide receiver you want. I think Marvin Jones is the wide receiver you want. And it gets you salary off of Shark. Now, could we see this as smokescreen from Urban Meyer? Sure. Could we see DJ Shark go out there for 100 plus and 2 touchdowns? Absolutely. Houston's defense is terrible. I think you have all 3 Jacksonville wide receivers in your player pool. However, I'm focusing on Chenault 1, Jones 2, Shark 3. That's my personal preference. DJ Shark's $5,800, Chenault's $5,000, and Marvin Jones at $3,600. Love that price tag for Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones could catch 2 to 3 touchdowns here. Not going to surprise me if by the end of the day on Sunday, Marvin Jones is in the winning Millie Maker lineup as a one-off, because Marvin Jones is good. So keep that in mind, and he's $3,600. He's cheap. On the Houston side of things, if you're playing Tyrod Taylor, I like Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins. Nico Collins is the rookie wide receiver that Houston drafted this year with not many draft picks. I like Collins this year. I like Collins season long. I like his upside. I don't mind taking chances on him here in week 1. Now, Houston did trade for Anthony Miller from the Bears. Anthony Miller is a fantastic wide receiver. Has not really been given a chance. So, with that being said, rookie wide receivers typically do not emerge until the second half of the season if they break out at all during their rookie campaign. With that being said, I'm going to be taking chances on Anthony Miller in 20 maxes. Also, I do want to say this from a building standpoint. Don't go crazy with a massive player pool. Pick the players you like, get the exposures that you want, and stick to it because, as my good buddy Michael Cavaluna says, if you have a core and the core goes off, you are cashing and you're doing fantastic. As opposed to if you get 5% of the core you actually want and you just want to spread out your ownership, much more different for that entire giant player pool to go off than your smaller player pool. Do what you all can to try to minimize your player pool. I may talk more about that in a future podcast, but there are plenty of draft strategy podcasts out there as well. If you're interested in getting better at daily fantasy sports, I'd check out Al Zeidenfeld's YouTube channel, aka Al Smizzle. You've heard him for many, many years, one of the pioneers in the DFS industry, one of the best minds in the DFS industry. Check out Al Zeidenfeld's free content on YouTube. He has how to get better at daily fantasy sports, including NFL videos specific to how to get better. Check those out. Free plug for my boy Al Smizzle. Check those videos out. With that being said, Anthony Miller is $3,300. Excuse me. I want to take chances on Anthony Miller this week. I really do. I think he's going to be involved. Now, again, he came in during the preseason. Still learning the playbook. Cooks is who you're targeting. If you want to play Tyrod Taylor, I think you play him with Brandon Cooks at $5,300. Anthony Miller at $3,300 and Nico Collins third at $3,600. Just know I think Nico Collins has a high ceiling, but I also think Nico Collins has a lower floor than the other two. Tight ends in this game, I'm not interested in any of them. Maybe in a 20 max, you take 5 to 10% on Jordan Akins. We saw him do good things last year. I have absolutely no interest in Akins this year or for this game. You could take chances on him. Go for it. With that being said, third game I like here on the slate. There's so many games I like here on the slate. I could take a pick of many of them. I will tell you this is not going to be a late hammer type of slate. So we just take a look at the 1 o'clock games, right? This is a lot of, if you want to play early only slates, it's a good way to do it. Let's see. Early only, so you get Philly, Atlanta, I like Jacksonville, Houston. I like the Jets in Carolina. We're going to talk about that game real quick. I like San Francisco at Detroit. I like Minnesota at Cincinnati. I like Arizona at Tennessee. This could be a little low-scoring game, so I like those games. Those are the ones I'm targeting. Cleveland and Kansas City is either going to be a blowout or it's going to be a defensive battle. Cleveland's defense is underrated. Green Bay at New Orleans. Green Bay's got a good defense. New Orleans got a good defense. If you're interested in this game, it's Rodgers and Adams. Maybe Aaron Jones, maybe A.J. Dillon. If you can make it fit, great, but I'm focusing on Rodgers and Adams. New Orleans, I'd focus on... Sorry about that. I'd focus on Winston and Callaway for New Orleans. Sometimes when I do these solo podcasts, my headset doesn't realize I'm actually recording on OBS, and it's like, oh, I'm going to shut off. You've been inactive for a while. Apologize for that, folks. So again, Green Bay, I like Rodgers and Adams. As a two-man stack, I don't mind Adams as a one-off. New Orleans, I would play Winston and Marquise Callaway, who's $3,400, who's probably going to be chalk on the slate. Just know Marquise Callaway is really his only wide receiver option. Michael Thomas out. Traquan Smith was just put on IR today, which actually was a little surprising, honestly. He's dealing with a hamstring injury, so it's Marquise Callaway. Don't worry, I'll get there. Deontay Harris. You want to go that as large field GPP, so late slate. I like that. Denver at the Giants. That's a game you're going to have to take a stand on, ladies and gentlemen. I have no interest in Miami at New England for anything daily fantasy sports related for this game. Bill Belichick loves punishing rookie quarterbacks. Tua's not exactly a rookie. He's going to try probably most likely game planning out, either Devontae Parker or Jalen Waddle. I have no interest in this game. New England defense firmly in play here. I actually don't mind the Miami defense, but I don't like playing. There are some people I think, there are people I know in the industry that don't like playing road defenses. I typically don't like playing them. I don't mind it. Now, with that being said, Denver at the Giants. I like the Denver side of that game, not so much the Giants side. Broncos defense firmly in play on the road. And for this game, we take a quick look. Before I get to the other games I want to focus on, Teddy Bridgewater, 4,800, the starting quarterback for Denver. Absolutely fantastic play, cheap quarterback. We look at his running back situation. You have Melvin Gordon and you have Javonte Williams. Just know that Javonte Williams is $4,000. Melvin Gordon's $5,300. I'm more interested. Okay, give me a second. Let me get off this game. I'm more interested here in Gordon than I am on Javonte Williams. We have to see how this breaks out. But I think Gordon's going to be the heavy first and second down back. Javonte on the third. Until we figure out how this is, I'd focus on Melvin Gordon for this game. The wide receivers is really what I want to focus on. Bridgewater, Gordon, but I want Judy first, Sutton second, and I want KJ Hamler third. But I would focus on Judy and Sutton and Gordon. If you want to play a tight end who's cheap, Noah Fant, 4,300. It's the Giants, as Al Smizzle used to say way back in the day, flowchart team. I don't mind if you want to go Bridgewater, Judy, Sutton, and or Fant. I like that for offense. Now, Gordon's not going to catch the ball, usually. So there's not exactly a lot of correlation. Just know that now. There's probably not going to be a lot of correlation there. So if you're playing Gordon, you want his rushing upside, but the correlation isn't there. If it's a shootout game, it's going to be Bridgewater, the wide receivers, and the tight ends. So Bridgewater has pass-catching options. I also really like Gordon if you just want a one-off or you want something to get different on the late slate. I have no interest in a run back from the Giants. If it is, it's Kenny Golladay or Saquon Barkley. I think Barkley's going to have trouble with Bradley Chubb and... I think it's Bradley Chubb, but Chubb and Miller on the outside. I have zero desire to try playing Barkley this week. He's probably going to work back in slowly, if at all he's not limited. So, for me, Barkley's questionable. Lister's questionable. Barkley's going to play in the game, avoiding setbacks. Practice, he's not committing on anything. Just stay away from the Giants this week. Denver firmly in play. Denver defense firmly in play this week. All right, enough with that. Let's go. Here we go. Jets at Carolina. Revenge game for Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, $5,000. Zach Wilson, the rookie quarterback, number 2 overall pick this year in the NFL draft. Also $5,000. Both quarterbacks in play. I love the Carolina side of this. I love a Carolina onslaught. Actually, I'm not going to say Carolina onslaught. I love a Carolina 3-man stack. Why do I say 3-man stack? Here's your quarterback. Here's your wide receiver. Quarterback, your running back, Christian McCaffrey. And here's Robbie Anderson, $5,700. Bam! And that gets you Christian McCaffrey. Love that stack. Darnold, McCaffrey, Anderson. You want to go onslaught? There you go. I'm not a big DJ Moore fan. This is a revenge game for Darnold. It's a revenge game for Robbie Anderson. I think Robbie Anderson is going to come out blazing. I don't mind if you want to play DJ Moore. Quite frankly, if you're in MMEs, mix up your exposure to Moore and Anderson if you want to play them both. I don't mind that at all. Now, Let's quickly talk about the running backs of this game. It's Christian McCaffrey. He's 9,500. You're playing him. He's the best running back on the slate. Core play for me. You want to play Christian McCaffrey. Jets defense isn't all that great. They've been working on it. They're trying to improve it. Robert Saleh was the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. Now the head coach of the Jets. Probably going to try something. Is the best running back in football. He's one of the best running backs in the last 10 years. Yes, bold statement. I don't care. You're playing CMC this week. You're going to be at the field or over the field on him because you listen to this podcast. Christian McCaffrey is going to smash this week. Christian McCaffrey, 1 receiving touchdown, at least 1 rushing touchdown. I like Christian McCaffrey over 100 total yards. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to feast in this matchup. All right, now that I've got my Christian McCaffrey point across, Tevin Coleman is right now the starter for the Jets. Followed by Ty Johnson, and unfortunately, the one who should be the starter in Michael Carter is 4,000, but he's most likely third on the depth chart right now. This is going to be a committee backfield. I expect Coleman to get the early work. I expect Johnson to come in and mix it up, and maybe they give exposed some little bits to Michael Carter as well. Now, the wide receivers is where I get interest. I love Robbie Anderson 1, Corey Davis 2. Corey Davis is my favorite run back from this game. So Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore for the Panthers, and we're gonna go with Corey Davis for the Jets. That's it. If you're stacking the Jets, it's Wilson plus Davis. I wouldn't even really put Wilson in my player pool. Quite frankly, Wilson's probably not making the cut for me, but Corey Davis is going to be in my player pool. Why? They have shown all preseason that Corey Davis is Zach Wilson's favorite target. They have a connection. He's my favorite run backer from stacking Carolina. Play Corey Davis. I have no interest in any other Jets wide receiver. Jamison Crowder's in the COVID-19 IL. I think Mims has been working with the second team. But may play because of Crowder being on the reserve list. You know, they've also got Keelan Cole, they got Braxton Berrios, they got second-round pick Elijah Moore, who, by the way, we are going to be playing this season. If you want to take shots on Elijah Moore at min price at $3,000, I got no problem with that. You want to take shots on Keelan Cole. Listed as questionable right now with a knee injury. He's a game-time decision. If you want to take a chance on Keelan Cole, I got no problem with that. If you want to take a shot on Elijah Moore and Keelan Cole, both $3,000 min price, I got no problem with that. Now, for Carolina, the third wide receiver that we're going to be seeing emerge is the rookie Terrence Marshall Jr. You want to take shots on Terrence Marshall in 20 maxes and above, especially if you're mass multi-entering and you're filling up a 150. You get some Terrence Marshall exposure in there as well. This kid is super talented. Yes, he fell in the draft. The kid's super talented. Robbie Anderson 1, DJ Moore 2, Corey Davis 3, Terrence Marshall 4, Elijah Moore 5. I can even see Elijah Moore 4 and Terrence Marshall 5. I think this is going to be a heavy Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore type of game. And with Corey Davis being the only target, I think Elijah Moore could have a chance to show us why the fantasy community is very high on this kid. Tight ends, it's Dan Arnold and Tyler Kroft. Dan Arnold's 2,600. Tyler Kroft, 2,500. They're not priorities for me. If you want to punt tight end, I don't mind Dan Arnold in your Carolina stacks. I don't mind Tyler Kroft in your Jet stacks. Not targets to me on this slate. Next game I want to talk about is San Francisco at Detroit specifically. I'm going to say this right now, I get zero interest in Detroit. If you're playing anyone in Detroit, it's Goff, it's Swift, maybe Jamal Williams, and Tyrell Williams. That's it. I'm not really on them at all. If we actually head over to the Vegas odds real quick, and I pull it back up on the screen. Where is this game? So, it's for 46.5 over-under, and San Francisco's favored by 8. Just saying. So, with that being said, I'm focusing on the San Francisco side of this game. Jimmy Garoppolo is 5,500. Trey Lance, 4,500. Jimmy Garoppolo has been named the starting quarterback for this team. He is going to start on Sunday. So, Garoppolo's who you want to build around. You're going to build around Mostert and Trey Sermon. You want to get both of them in your player pool and mix that exposure up because it's probably going to be a split somehow. So I would mix that up. Wide receiver, I would pick Brandon Ayuk first, followed by Deebo Samuel. and get exposure to George Kittle as well at 6,300. Focus on San Francisco on this game. If you're running back anyone on Detroit, run it back with either T.J. Hawkinson at 4,900. If you're not playing Kittle, this is not a week I want to go double tight end unless you're like playing a Pitts and a Kittle, or you're playing Kelsey and Kittle and you're going to try capturing a lot of high upside. If you're playing a double tight end, it's fine. Just know that may not be the highest upside on this slate, but it's a way to get different in your large field GPPs. I just don't see the upside for Hawkinson here. San Francisco's got good linebackers. They got Fred Warner. I don't know. Hawkinson's going to get force-fed the ball in this game, and so is Tyrell Williams. Tyrell Williams comes in at $4,400. Rashad Perriman, I don't even think he's on the team anymore. He's with the Bears. Perriman is not with the Lions. So just keep that in mind. He is with the Bears, so it's really Tyrell Williams and Quentin Cephas, Benson, Hodge. Amon-Ra St. Brown is someone that's interesting if you want to go like 5 to 10% in your large field GPPs. He's the rookie wide receiver that Detroit drafted this year. Not someone I'm expecting a lot out of this week at San Francisco, but I love the San Francisco side of this game. I am going to talk very quickly about Minnesota at Cincinnati. Game stack firmly in play. Minnesota at Cincinnati. This is currently sitting as of Friday night at 47.5 over-under at Minnesota favored by 3. Cincinnati's defense still isn't great. Cincinnati is going to have an amazing offense. Joe Burrow's in play. Joe Mixon's in play. T. Higgins 1, Jamar Chase 2, Tyler Boyd 3. If you want to go Tyler Boyd over Jamar Chase, I got no problem with that. Here are their pricing. Tyler Boyd's $5,200, Jamar Chase is $4,800, and T. Higgins at $4,700. I like Burrow, Higgins, and Boyd or Chase. Mix it up. I have interest in no tight end in this game. Chris Herndon was just signed. No interest in C.J. Uzomah or Drew Sample. Dalvin Cook on the Minnesota side is the run back I want to go with. It's going to be very tough to try to fit McCaffrey and Cook. Maybe I stay away from Mixon in this game and I focus on Burrow with 1 to 3 of his wide receivers and I group them together so I get Burrow plus one of his 3 wide receivers and I make a group. And in that group, I want to run back Dalvin Cook on the other side. I think Minnesota is going to want to run time of possession. We know Cincinnati's defense really isn't that good. Time of possession game, Minnesota is going to want to play. It's Cousins, it's Cook. Cook is one of my main targets on this slate as well. McCaffrey and Cook, main targets to me on this slate. I love McCaffrey more than I do Cook, but Cook's also a fantastic matchup. Thielen and Justin Jefferson. I like Thielen over Jefferson in this game. Call it a hot take. I think we could see 1 to 2 touchdowns out of Thielen. Full game stack for this game, firmly in play. Let's talk about the big game and spend a little time on this. It's Arizona at Tennessee. Let's talk about it because this is the game everyone's going to want to stack. This is the game that's going to be very popular. It has one of the highest over-unders on this entire slate. It is currently sitting, at 53. Tennessee is favored by 3. This game opened up at 51.5. The highest scoring game on this slate currently is Cleveland to Kansas City at 54.5. Quite frankly, I would take the under on that game. I think Cleveland's defense is really good. I think Mahomes is going to struggle this year a little bit more. I'm calling it a hot take. That's a game where I have no problem going heavier on a late slate and getting more exposure to Cleveland's defense, a little bit to Kansas City's offense. Love Nick Chubb in this game for Cleveland, and I love Beckham and Landry, but I don't think they're going to do that well. I think it's going to be a little bit of a slowish game. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game than this line indicates, but it could also be a higher scoring game. Like I said, that's either going to be a low scoring game or a high scoring game. I can see it going either way. I'm on the side of it going as a low scoring game. So the second highest total in the slate is this Arizona or Tennessee game. Total right now is at 53 with Tennessee favored by 3. Kyler Murray, one of the highest priced quarterbacks on this slate, comes in at $7,600. Ryan Tannehill, $6,500. Look, if you're stacking this game, no, the quarterbacks in this game are super expensive. Catching myself from not swearing or even saying freaking. So there, I said it anyway. They're super freaking expensive. All right, just keep that in mind. Now, We head over to the running backs. Derrick Henry versus Arizona. Love it. Not my favorite running back for this slate. I have no problem being underweight on Henry on this slate. Chase Edmonds and James Conner. Chase Edmonds should be the starter for this. He is. There you go, 9-10. So this was as of today, as I'm recording this podcast. This was actually a couple hours ago before I recorded this podcast. From RotoWire, Edmonds enters the 2021 season as the number 1 running back on the Cardinals depth chart. I expect Edmonds to be involved in this game massively. And I think Edmonds at 4,600 is too cheap. So if you're stacking Arizona, I think you stack Edmonds with him. And Edmonds is a pass catcher too. Edmonds is who I'm focusing on. If you want to sprinkle in some James Conner and get different, I have no problem with that at all. James Conner, 4,500. Let's focus on the wide receivers and spend a little bit of time here. Look, here's Tennessee. There's 4 guys that Tennessee's going to be involved with. It's Tannehill, it's Henry, it's A.J. Brown, it's Julio Jones. You know where the condensed volume is going to be for the Titans all year long. With that being said, Josh Reynolds is questionable for this game. We take a look at Reynolds' questionable tag. It's a foot injury. He was limited again on Friday, according to RotoWire. I think, again, Tennessee aren't going to get many contributions from wide receivers other than A.J. Brown, Julio Jones. Again, Reynolds should be the 3 on this team. You're focusing on A.J. Brown. You're focusing on Julio Jones. You want to stack Tannehill, Brown, and Jones. I got no problem with that. You want to go 2-man stack with just Tannehill and Brown. You want to go Tannehill, Brown, Firkser, Tannehill, Jones, Firkser. Focus on the pass catchers for this game. Henry is someone for large field GPPs if you want to take a stand on. Take a stand on him. If you're stacking Tennessee, again, this goes back to my Dalvin Cook scenario. Or goes back to whatever I was talking about earlier about the running backs. They don't typically correlate well with stacking them with just a quarterback. So if you want to go Tannehill, Henry, the upside correlation is far less than just stacking Tannehill with his pass catchers. If you want to put the running back with it, fine. You know you maybe get 1 or 2 rushing touchdowns. Maybe you get 1 or 2 passing touchdowns. If that's the case, I wouldn't probably go more than just Tannehill and 1 of his pass catchers if you're playing Henry in that lineup. You have to be careful. Think of your correlation. Think of how you all out there think the game flow is going to go. I think Tennessee wins this game. And again, Tannehill, Henry, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones. Maybe Anthony Firkser. Firkser's 3,200. I have 0 interest in any tight end on Arizona. Right now it looks like Max Williams looks as the starting tight end. So, yeah, I don't think Max Williams is someone I'm focusing on the slate. Firkser, if you want to mix him with your Tennessee stacks, but, you know, Max Williams here is coming in at... I don't want to go back. Let's try this again. Sorry about that, everybody. Max Williams, going to RotoWire, looks like, you know, due to the strength of our receiver core, you know, as the incoming tight end with the most experience in the Cardinals, he's got the season. The team's the one option at the position, but due to the strength of the wide receiver room and Williams' own limitations as a pass catcher, he doesn't hold much fantasy utility at this stage of his in his career. I would agree with that from RotoWire as well. It's part of the write-up there. Check that out over on DK. Check the latest player news supplied by RotoWire. So I had no interest in Max Williams here on the slate. Anthony Firkser, 3,200. Mix him in with your Tennessee stacks. On the Arizona side of things, you're like, why do you keep talking about the Titans? Okay, we're getting into the Cardinals. I get it. Don't worry about it. We're here. We got talking about the Cardinals. Let's talk about year 3, Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray. I think it's year 3 for them. DeAndre Hopkins, $7,800, one of the best wide receivers on this slate. Tennessee's secondary is absolutely terrible. There's a reason this game is a 53 over-under. Hopkins is who I would target if you're playing Murray. Know that is going to be a very expensive stack. I do not know who is going to emerge as the number 2 wide receiver on this team. It should be Christian Kirk to start the season. We'll see what A.J. Green has left of the tank. Rondelle Moore, some people are high on this kid. He's $3,000. He's a rookie wide receiver they drafted this year. I don't know what to do with Rondelle Moore. If you want to take chances at $3,000 on Rondelle Moore in your Arizona stacks to save some salary, I got no problem with that. For me, it's Hopkins 1, Kirk 2, Green 3, Moore 4. I think Rondelle Moore has slightly more upside than A.J. Green on this slate, but I don't think he has more upside than Kirk and Hopkins on this slate at all. Alright, so that's going to do it for some of my favorite games here. Again, check out my Stardom or Fatum article on the Main Event DFS Discord. That's where we're going to post it. We'll see if we can get up for you on Twitter as well so you can get a link to it. No, all my articles are going to be exclusive to the Main Event DFS Discord. You can check them out over there. Now, with that being said, let's go look at all these teams and let's take a look at the defenses. 49ers against Detroit. Road defense, $4,200 most expensive. No thank you. Again, so Patriots, kind of like I was saying, against Miami, at home. Patriots, first time having fans back in 2 years since because of the stupid COVID-19 pandemic. $3,900. Expensive for good reason. Giants, extremely overpriced at $3,800. Denver's defense, $3,300 on the road. Love that defense. Packers on the road. New Orleans, uninterested. Panthers at home against the Jets. If you want to take chances on the Packers at $3,600, fine. Let's see what else we got here. Real quickly, let's take a look. Sorry about that, folks. I want to go down to the cheap defenses real quick. I'm going to work my way up. $2,000, Bengals, no. Falcons, no. Houston, no. Cardinals, no. Saints, large field GPP is $2,200. No problem with that. Detroit, no. Colts against Seattle. No problem if you want to play them at $2,300 against Seattle. Seattle's someone, you know you're playing Wilson, you know you're playing Carson, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. You know where the 4 is going. You want to mix in some Joe Everett on the slate. I'm okay with that. Indy's defense, I don't think it's as elite as people are making it out to be. But they're a really good defense. $2,300, I think it's a little cheap for them. Got no problem with that. Here's a good large field GPP defense for you. The Browns. Alright, I love the Browns defense against Kansas City. Think they're underrated, but I'd much rather have the Browns at home to face Kansas City. So I don't mind sprinkling in some Browns exposure, but I wouldn't go crazy. Steelers and Buffalo is going to be a defensive slugfest. That game is sitting at 48.5. I think that's too high. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game than that. It's two very good defenses. You want to take chances on the Buffalo defense at home. Go for it. Probably not. I mean, I don't mind sprinkling them in there, so I'm not going to completely say no. Steelers on the road, no, but they're a really good defense. We will be targeting them this year. Kansas City at home, don't mind sprinkling them in as well. The Washington football team, $3,200 at home. Don't mind taking a chance on that. And again, Denver defense on the road, 49ers, Patriots. And I don't mind taking a chance on the Panthers. All right, it's time to get into, we're going to wrap up this podcast here, core value GPP and favorite team stack segment. Some version and variation. Core play is none other than Mr. Christian McCaffrey at $9,500. Value play. I'm going to head over here to flex, and I'm going to go all the way down. I've already talked about quite a few of them. I'll give you a value play at running back, wide receiver, and tight end. How's that sound? Value play at running back. Sonny Michel is not going to get any points accrued because he was traded to the Rams. Chase Edmonds, $4,600. Value play and GPP play. Wide receiver value play is going to be Corey Davis, $4,900. Jerry Jeudy, $4,800. T. Higgins, $4,700. Devonta Smith, $4,500. Christian Kirk, $4,500. Tyrell Williams, $4,400. You want to play Kendrick Bourne, see how he does? $4,400, fine with that. Pittman, $4,100 against Seattle's defense. Love that price tag. No problem with that. You want me to go cheaper? Fine. AJ Green, $3,800. There were so many cheap wide receivers this week. Pascal, Campbell, Patterson, Marvin Jones. Love Jones this week as a value and a GPP play. Gabe Davis, not the week to play him. Marquise Callaway, could be chalk, $3,400. Would rather play Anthony Miller, have the upside of that. Callaway is going to get force-fed. Just know he's going to probably, Marquise Callaway is probably going to be shadow covered by Jair Alexander. Deontay Harris as well. Again, Deontay Harris, don't mind taking chances on as well. Tight end, cheap value. Tight end, I'm going to try and find you some value here, ladies and gentlemen. Zach Ertz, 3,800. GPP, quarterback, Joe Burrow, 5,700. Tyrod Taylor, 5,300. Carson Wentz, 5,600. Sam Darnold, 5,000. I don't want to put Jimmy Garoppolo in there either. Running back GPP, there could be plenty. I'm going to give you 3. It's going to be Cook, Henry, Kamara. Oh, Adam, those are all expensive guys. Yeah, and they're all GPP. McCaffrey, you're playing him in cash and GPP. You're playing him everywhere. Henry's more of a GPP play. Cook, I like playing in GPPs because I'm probably going to have more exposure to McCaffrey than Cook. Kamara against Green Bay. We played against them all year last year. We played running backs against them. Green Bay, New Orleans come as a 50 over-under. Green Bay favored by 3.5. You want some other running backs? I'll give you a couple more. Don't worry. I give you guys a couple more. I already gave you earlier. I'm going to give you Raheem Mostert versus Detroit this week. You definitely want to play Mostert. Again, get exposure to Trey Sermon as well. But I like Mostert this week for San Francisco. I like Chase Edmonds. There's Trey Sermon. And as well, James Robinson. Wide receiver. And I gave you some other value. We want to go, if you want some GPP value, Javonte Williams. He's $4,000 wherever he is. He's down here at 4,000. That's Washington. Where's the Denver game? There we go. Javonte Williams, $4,000 if you want a punt at running back. Now, we head up here real quick to our receivers. Devontae Adams is in play. Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Stephon Diggs. You want to go cheaper? Deontay Johnson against Buffalo. Those are GPP plays because against a low-scoring game. If they go off, they go off. Brandon Ayuk, love him. Deebo Samuel, DJ Shark, Robbie Anderson. You know how much I love Robbie Anderson this week. I don't mind Mike Williams, 5,500. It's a little bit more expensive than I want to play against the Washington defense, but he's definitely in play for GPPs. Again, I've given you my Cincinnati wide receivers. All 3 are in play. For me, the GPP play is Boyd, but I would go Hardman 1, Boyd 2, Chase 3. But I think Boyd's your GPP play. Hardman, Higgins, you're going to focus on both cash and GPPs, in my opinion. Chenault at 5,000. Jerry Jeudy at 4,800. Cortland Sutton at 5,200, but I'd rather Jerry Jeudy. Devonta Smith, 4,500. And again, Tyrell Williams, 4,400 as well. And Michael Pittman Jr., $4,100. Again, value in GPP play. Tight end, GPP. Kyle Pitts, 4,400. Travis Kelce, 8,300. George Kittle, 6,300. TJ Hawkinson should be getting probably 8 to 12 targets in this game, maybe 8 to 10 targets. I like Hawkinson as a GPP play, $4,900. Robert Tonyan against New Orleans. I'm not interested in Fant. Tight end versus the Giants until we see otherwise. $4,300 for Fant. Logan Thomas, don't mind playing him against the Chargers. Not my favorite, but I don't mind playing, taking some shots on Logan Thomas. And again, I told you this earlier, but Zach Ertz, for me, over Dallas Goedert, saves you $1,000, and I think Hurts has the higher upside for GPPs. And if you really want to take a chance and play a New England tight end, for me, it's going to be Jonnu Smith over Hunter Henry, but I think Hunter Henry can also do really well here as well. But Hunter Henry, 4,700. Where's Jonnu Smith? 4,100. I like Jonnu over Henry, but I think Henry has a better chance to be the pass catcher in this game. I thank all of you for tuning in here to my NFL NFL DFS Week 1 preview. Again, check out my Stardom or Freedom article on Saturday night. Good luck on the slate, everybody. Latest, peoples.